Hey everybody on YouTube, it's your boy the Memphis XLR8, and today everybody, we have a special video. It's about time I finally came out with this here video here, just finished another one of my 100 videos in a row sessions, and I figured now is the time that we finally address my Yu-Gi-Oh story. I've been doing Yu-Gi-Oh for almost 20 years, actually. It's kind of scary that I've been doing this game a long time. Long time. But I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna tell you guys how I got started with this game. It's a thing I've always wanted to talk about, and today I'm gonna be talking about it. Without any further ado, let's just get right. Let's skip the preamble. Let's get right into it. So, for me, Yu-Gi-Oh started around I want to say 2002 ish. Back in that day, Yu-Gi-Oh was just getting started in the TCG, coming over to America. Everyone had like the Legend of Blue Eyes, that sort of thing. Yu-Gi-Oh cards were just getting into the stores and such. I wasn't immediately fascinated with Yu-Gi-Oh. At the beginning, back in those times, I was a smaller child, and my days were mostly spent, hanging out with friends and also building elaborate action figure castle siege scenarios, which was a thing I used to do as a kid. But as the other kids in my neighborhood, in my developing neighborhood, they started getting into Yu-Gi-Oh themselves. And so I figured, why not? I'll give this trading card game a shot. Why the heck not? So I begged my parents, hey, can we go look for cards? And they're like, yeah, we'll look for cards. And so we go out to the store. There's no cards at the store. We go to another store. We go to another store. There's no cards. Like I said, this was one of the area I was in was still in development. There wasn't that many stores. And so they were very spread out. So we spent all day. It felt like all day. It was probably just like an hour or two just driving around looking for trading. When you're a smaller child, an hour feels like forever. That's a thing. And so, we spent some time looking around for cards. And we never found them for the longest time. And I was very sad because, well, I wasn't like crying or nothing, but I was very sad. Like, I was very excited for this new thing. So on the way home, we stop at the mall. And in the mall is a store called Hot Topic, which is basically where all the edgy teens with all their the spiked leather like to hang out. And we just stopped in just for the heck of it. And so we asked the store owner, like, hey, do you have any of these Yu-Gi-Oh cards? And they're like, yeah, we have one whole pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I was so ecstatic that I was finally going to get these cards. And the cards were, in fact, an OCG pack. It was OCG Metal Raiders, actually. I might have been one of the first people in America to have, like, Metal Raiders. Kind of weird. But yeah, I got the pack and opened it up, and, I had the cards. I had no idea what they did. I had no idea what the cards were called. I mean, I know now, but I didn't know back then. But I had those cards for a while, and eventually I would get into the actual TCG, the English cards. But yeah, that was a very special pack for me. So I actually remember the first pack I ever had. 5 cards, because OCG. There was Time Eater, Friel, Book of Life, Book of Moon, which is actually a really good card to have in your first pack, as well as Reckless Greed. Those were the first 5 cards I ever had, and I don't have all of them anymore. I lost Reckless Greed. I don't remember what happened to that, and I traded Book of Life and Moon because I didn't know what the heck they were. And I didn't value the cards as much back in the day. I regret it now, of course, but don't have them no more. Actually, here in my special binder, which I probably have to show off at some point in the future, as you can see, not that page, I actually have Kriel. Can I get in frame? Wrong page. There we go. Yeah, right there. There's Time Eater and Kriel right there. Right there in the good old OCG-ness, right next to my fake Exodia card. That's another story there in the future, but yeah, it's nice. I got a couple little mementos from when I was just a boy. It's very nice. So remind me I gotta show off this binder one of these days. Look at Time Eater. Look at that boy. He looked very nice. So as time went on, I collected the cards, of course. Just not just Target and like Walmart, like 7-Eleven used to sell a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. In fact, my first structure decks, Yugi Kaiba, I got at 7-Eleven, and I still have the Blue Eyes and the Dark Magician from those structure decks. And I collected the cards. I didn't have any sort of I didn't have like a set goal for what I was collecting. I just collected whatever came out. I made my deck. It was complete mismatch, as I imagine most players' first decks are. You just kind of get the cards that look cool. and sound interesting. You know, stuff like that. And so a big part of my early Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, back when I was just collecting the cards, just playing with friends, a big shout out to a buddy of mine. His name was Michael. And Michael and me, we were the best of friends when I was young. He was a really cool dude. And we did a lot of stuff together. And Yu-Gi-Oh was one of those things. You know, we both collected the cards just a little bit, not, you know, just again, very casually. And we would duel each other. And you want to know something? I never beat him. Yeah, Michael was just, it wasn't so much that he wasn't like the guy who had all the great cards, or like his parents bought him like the best cards in the game, or he had like some wicked great strategy skills, strategical skills, things like that. No, it was just like he was just better at the game than I was. Not gonna lie, he was just better at the game. His cards were maybe a little bit better than mine, just slightly, but he was just really good at the game. And you know, it's a thing when you're a child, or just anybody just starting out a new game and you're playing the game, and the people you duel against or you play against are like so much better than you, and you keep losing. You know, like I said, I never beat him. I dueled him a bunch of times and I never managed to beat him. And, you know, for a lot of people that would be very discouraging and you'd want to stop playing. But I didn't. You know, him beating me all the time actually encouraged me to get better at the game. Like, I would actually try to, you know, think through some strategies a little bit, you know, with the cards that I had, the very mismatchy cards that I had. I remember one of the cards that I used to get was a Shooting Starbow Seal. That was an interesting one. But yeah, I never managed to beat him, and you know, a few years after starting with Yu-Gi-Oh with him, he had to move away, and we didn't keep in touch, unfortunately, which just doesn't feel good all the time. But you know what, that happens, and you know what, I never managed to beat Michael, but if I ever dueled him again, I might still not be able to beat him. I have no idea. But it would be nice to see him again someday. But it was just, his beating me up in this game really helped me to just like get better at it. Not gonna lie, that was just what it was, you know. Not giving up was very crucial. So years went by. I kept collecting the cards, kept dueling people. I had a kind of a volunteer work at a daycare center for a while that I would duel the kids there. And I would beat them up all the time. Granted, none of us were that good at the game either. And so, you know, it was just, again, just learning the game a little bit more, just deck building, having fun with it, you know, for the longest time. So, that's what I did for many years. And, you know, also accumulated new friends who would also play the game. There's Necro and Shimadio, and we had another friend whose name was Wayne, who, unfortunately, he never got into YouTube. But if he did, he would definitely go by the moniker of War Pony. Yes, that would be his name. And so we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. I was the best of the three of us at the game, but again, we were very casual about it and just kind of like doing whatever we wanted to do. So around 2010, I want to say, maybe a little bit before that, that's when I first started trying to do Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. And Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, you know, I had this mindset. I thought I was good at the game when I first went, but I wasn't. I was not. But I'll get into that more. With me and my buddies, we all went to a tournament. We were like, hey, we're going to give this a shot, see how it goes. We'll duel some people and see how it goes. And that's where I first got my taste of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! You know, and this was like when Black Wings were first meta. So I was getting annihilated, basically. Like, every time I would try to play, people would just, like, run me over. And it didn't feel good at first, obviously. You know, you think you go into this scenario where you think you know what you're doing. You know, after doing it for a while, you think you know what you're doing, but then you don't, because you don't know what a ban list is. You don't know what the meta is. You don't know what a good deck is. But, you know, it didn't bother me after a while. You know, I mostly shifted my mindset from winning at the tournaments to just enjoying dueling new people and dueling against new players. And, you know, the earlier times the tournaments were honestly a little bit better. You know, the first place we ever went to a tournament hall, it was like this dingy basement. It was like this anime store, but it was like a basement. And it was like it was very cramped. It was very cramped. And you know what? It was all right. I mean, again, it was cramped, and not everyone there was like, they weren't all very no one was casual about it, but no one was not. Some of the people were kind of more intense than they should have been, but some weren't. You know, Actually, I made some good trades back in the day. I got my first set of ninja cards there for free, actually. A guy just gave me the ninja cards for free. Not all the good ones, but like the earth and the wind and the water armor ninja, things like that, just to do that. And just, it had some good times too. I mean, I bought my first box at that tournament hall that had, Wind-Up Zenmaity was in the box. I actually pulled Zenmaity, that was cool. So a little while later, we moved to a new tournament hall that was a lot bigger. It was like really big tables, and it wasn't really a tournament. It was just like a place where we go like Saturday nights to go duel random people, and that was good too. It was a lot more open space, a lot more duels that were like a lot more casual players at the second place, and it was nice. And I just I got slowly better and better through Synchro and Xyz's era. Xyz's era, of course, being where I first started going into the Karibos, because that's where I first decided I would make a Karibo deck. And so, again, we just kept dueling, and, after a while, my buddies, they didn't really care about going to tournaments as much. They wanted to win the games, and, they weren't as good as I was or as the other people was, so they slowly dropped out of that. I went just to, keep dueling and having fun with it. But, that's what happens, If you just keep losing and you have this mindset of, I gotta win, you're gonna get discouraged. And, tournaments, it was a mixed bag. Eventually the one big space, it closed down, sadly. But we moved to another place. So it was kind of a mix of the two. It was small, but it was still large enough for you to move in. And honestly, that tournament hall was like the worst in terms of like the people, because they were like all very passionate about Yu-Gi-Oh. They were very, very intense about it. Some of them were they were just a little too intense for the most part. Some of them weren't, and there were some people that are all right, but for the most part, it was just kind of like too much. Enjoying Yu-Gi-Oh, I feel like you should try to do it like. You should be focused enough to try your best at it, but without, like, letting it take over your life. Don't be so focused on winning that you don't enjoy playing the game in of itself. You know what I mean? That's at least how I feel about it. So, yeah, tournaments, a mixed bag. A lot of people who are just, like, too much into the game, but also just a good learning experience, just, learning how to play the game a little bit better, but sometimes you have a good time. You have a good time, you learn how to play better, and you just have good times. So I was there around 2016 is where I started to get really better. I'd say I started to come into my own as actual playing this game. This started out with trains, and that'll be a future story video or anything of that, where I got the Waking the Dragons box set. I first discovered trains, and I made the train deck based on old Rada's video, and it turned out really good. Like, I went to tournament with my train deck for the first time, and I was like, okay, maybe this deck can work. And I actually managed to beat full-powered Zodiacs with trains. And that was amazing. I mean, it's more amazing now, considering that Zodiacs are what they are, and they became what they became. And I actually managed to beat them with trains, of all things. And that was the first, like, major tournament when I actually had, or it might have actually been the first tournament when I ever had at all. But that was something. Just, you get a new deck, and it just works out, and you feel like you finally figured something out. And, I didn't win any other duels that night, but I won that one. So that was good. That was very good. So that's where I finally figured out, like, how to play the game. Like, do combo good, basically. Don't just, like, summon, next turn, summon. As that was me for the longest time, but then I learned, like, summon, do something, end turn. Something like, I'm not the sort of person that likes to do, like, long-winded combos too often. I mean, sometimes I will. Not gonna lie, sometimes I do. But I don't like to, like, set up, like, a huge 10-minute combo. And I'm fine with that. So around 2017 is where Yugioh Tubing started for me. That year I lost my dear dog, Samson. He was a good boy. Lost him, and I was in a very depressing time of my life. He was a good boy, and lost him to cancer. which is never fun with dogs. It's never fun with them. So I filled that void with Yu-Gi-Oh! Basically, more Yu-Gi-Oh! I started Yugioh Tubing. I based my channel loosely around like rank 10 and hard leg because they were my favorite Yu-Gi tubers at the time. You know, my first video was a card review of the numbers, and then shortly after that, I started like Who Says Karibos Can't Win, where I would duel with Karibos on good old Yugioh Pro before EDO Pro was a thing, and that's what I did for several years. And you know, at first it was just kind of like I get a couple views, like you know, I really started Yugioh Tubing really too late to be like relevant at all. You know, all the established Yugioh tubers were already a thing. I wasn't gonna be like the big guy. I mean, if I had started Yugioh Tubing right when I started Yu-Gi-Oh! Well, not right when I started Yu-Gi-Oh! But like in 2010, for example, if I had started Yugioh Tubing, I might even be a household name in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community. I have no idea. That's just the thing. You never know. It could have happened, but it did not happen, so no use whining about it. But basically, yeah, I started really late into it, and so, you know, the views, they came in trickles, and the subs every once in a while, but nothing too crazy. So, it was about in 2017, 18, started the 100 Days of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where I would duel, you know, I had this idea, you know, I would just flood YouTube with content and see if my net would be wide enough to grab people. And so 100 videos over a 100-day period, more or less, because sometimes you got to take a day off of that, or otherwise you're going to crash. And so I did that, and it worked. I mean, the first season of 100 Days Yu-Gi-Oh! Is completely garbage in retrospect. The first half of it has really bad video quality, because I was still figuring out YouTube at that time. But, you know, that was, again, a learning experience. You know, so long as you can learn from something, it's worth it. You know, that's why you gotta keep trying stuff. You know, don't just give up. Don't just give up. Okay? So, you know, I tried, you know, the 100 days, and the first while of it was pretty bad in visuals. But luckily I had commenters like George Solanicus and other people who were telling me, like, hey, you gotta make the video quality a little bit better. We love your content, but we can't tell what the heck's going on. And so that's where better video quality came from. And so the years went by. And, you know, again, I kept doing the YouTube stuff, and I would make videos on just, like, whatever I felt like doing. I'm not the sort of person who likes to make content on the stuff that's, like, brand new very often. Very rarely. Very rarely. I mean, sometimes I'll talk about new cards. Like, I had a show called Card Talks, where I would talk about new cards, and I don't do that anymore, but I did do that for a while. And, you know, I would just make content on whatever decks I felt like playing. They weren't necessarily like the talk of the town decks or like the most relevant decks, but it was just stuff I like to do. And I would continue with the 100 Days thing. Season 2, that was a bit of a mess too for other reasons. You know, I messed up on a few days and stuff like that. But the 100 Days was always like the big talk of the town for my channel, at least, you know. I would have all these videos in a row, and it would draw the most attention, because that's kind of how YouTube works. You know, you put out a lot of content, and it'll recommend your videos a little bit more. So that was that, and I would just keep going for that. And so 2020 was where the channel really started to get somewhere. You know, I had like 86 subs at the beginning of, you know, 100 Day Season 3. And at that point, I was like, okay, I've been making all these videos. Channel's not that popular, so I'm going to try it one more time. You know, I said I would try it one more time, and if it didn't work, be done with it, you know, because if people aren't going to be all interested and they don't care so much, I would just be done with it. But a couple of things helped with the 100 Day Season 3. Starters, I started it in January, because I heard this thing from old Matt Pat during one of his theories, kind of, you know, Matt Pat, but it was just like this throwaway comment of his about how, like, big channels slow down in January because ad revenue is low. So I figured I'd start in January so that my little channel could get bigger. And that's why the 100 Days starts in January now, is because of that. So that's what I did. And 100 Day Season 3 was the best at that point. I mean, Season 4 is even better. But Season 3 was really good. I mean, I went from 86 to 100 subs in less than a month, which at that point was like a lot for me. And I forget exactly how many we got overall, but it's like 50, 60, something like subs, something like that. But it felt really good, you know, to finally just see some returns for all the work. It felt good. It feels good, you know, when you put in all this effort, and you don't need to have like giant returns. It's not like I went from 86 to 10,000 subs. That would have been, oh, what would I have done with all? I don't know what I would have done with all those. I don't know what I would have done with all those people. I have no idea. I have no idea, but it was enough where I decided to keep going, and you know, we kept going. Still made the videos, and you know, before the end of that year, I hit 200 subs, and it felt great. It felt great. It really did. And I did my face reveal. You know, I used to wear the mask. I don't have the mask on me right now, but it's. I'll edit it on somewhere. And of course, now season 4 of the 100 Years of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's the best one yet. I'm recording this before the end of it, so I don't know how great it's going to be in the end, but it's been the best one yet. It's been the best one. A lot of people just like contributing and making it the best thing. Because that's another thing I try to do. I try to, you know, involve my audience as much as I can with what I do, because, you know, at the end of the day, half of what I do is all for you guys. It's just like making videos that other people can enjoy. You know, that's what a YouTuber, I feel, should at least be thinking about. Is like, yeah, make content you enjoy and you can be proud of, but also make content that other people can enjoy and be proud that they, well, not so much proud, but they can enjoy. They can say that it was worth their time to watch. So you know, because there's a lot of content on YouTube. It's too much. So that's where the channel stands right now. And in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh, I mean, I'm never gonna be the big meta guy. I'm not gonna be like the most competent YouTuber or Yu-Gi-Oh player or anything like that. I still make mistakes. You know, I'm still learning. Every day, you gotta keep learning. You gotta learn something new every day. You're learning something new every time you duel. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you don't do the plays as well as you want. But you know what? You keep learning and you keep getting better. You know. And I don't think I'm ever gonna be the best player. Now, honestly, who even wants to be? You know, if you're like the best player, like that's the apex. You've hit the apex, and if you don't stay there, you're just gonna fall. You get lower and lower. You know. Oh, you know, just take it one hand hold at a time, and you're just like, you'll always be better than you were before, and that's good enough, you know. So just be better than you were yesterday. Just don't be perfect. Don't be perfect, because then there's nothing else to do. So that's my Yu-Gi-Oh story, man. I just started way back 2002. It's like 19 years. Jeez. Ugh, I'm old. I'm old. Oh no, I'm old. I'm old, man. Okay. But yeah, started a long time ago. I've just been climbing it slowly but surely. And I'm still playing the game. I still like playing the game. It's crazy and kind of toxic it can sometimes be. I still play this game and I still enjoy playing it. So that's my story. Thank you guys very much for listening to my story. Let me know, what's your story? If you feel like sharing your story, or just like, you know, tell me what you thought of mine. I don't know, either one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Your boy Memphis signing out. I'll see you guys again next time with more Yu-Gi-Oh replays and stuff, because that's what we do. And, you know, if people like these stories so much, I might do other stories. I'd like to tell the story about, like, the trains, like the trains, and just other random stuff. You know, so yeah, just again, thank you guys very much for watching. I very much appreciate it. And your boy Memphis is signing out now. I'll see you guys again next time, and remind me to show off what's in this binder one of these days. That'll be a video in and of itself.